Now, I'm not saying that James Carville is a barely functioning with nothing left of value in this world. I'm not saying that at all. I'm also not saying it's pointless to tar and feather him because he still sheds his skin twice a year. And I'm also not saying if James Carville choked to death on one of his morning feedings of live mice, he wouldn't be missed. Wow, it sure is fun to not say things. I'm gonna start.
Greg Gutfeld had just taken James Carville to the intellectual woodshed, where he delivered a one-man comedic massacre complete with his signature smirk and surgical sarcasm. Carville's stale political ramblings were blasted by Gutfeld like yesterday's talking points in a public service announcement titled, "Why Your Grandpa's Hot Takes Don't Hit," which was not a conversation. Carville tried to close the distance, but Gutfeld had 3 punchlines ahead of him. His credibility blew up on live television, and if you blinked, you missed it.
Embracing Pumpkinhead just yet. Carville's like a parent who doesn't say anything about his rotten brat until it affects him and crashes his Mercedes. This problem's been here for years. It's done untold damage. It's cost a lot of death. And now he calls BS on it? Thanks, but you're showing up at last call. Let's not forget what else he said. He said that people that go to Trump rallies are pretty much brain-dead deplorables. He said some pretty awful things. If he could call them retarded, he would have. So his criticisms actually hit everyone, and it doesn't come from a place of common sense or common people. It comes from an elitist perch. He's not a man of the people. He's a man protecting a system that paid him well. On the whole, he would prefer to jail a Trump supporter who stole a podium over an Antifa creep who burns a business. So there you go.
With a Cajun drawl and a Rolodex full of 1990s talking points, Carville, the renowned Democratic strategist, thought he was prepared for a verbal battle. But instead he got a lecture on why it's improper to try to roast someone with expired material. Instead of just entering the debate with James Carville, Greg Gutfeld meticulously disassembled it phrase by phrase, like a cat playing with a wind-up toy, until it lost all of its dignity and steam. Let's face it, Greg Gutfeld reading off a teleprompter is like entering a rap battle, and James Carville is no heavyweight.
Political strategist and hairless goblin. James Carville trash-talked his fellow Dems in our video of the day. Roll it, Agatha.
We keep wondering why these young people aren't coming home to the Democrats. We say, oh, why blacks are not coming home to the Democrats? Because Democratic messaging is full of That's why.
Right.
Wow.
And talk about cost of living. And we're going to help deal with this. And don't talk about GAFA and student loans.
Kennedy, that nice little old lady is making some sense.
Right.
She really is.
She's such a gentle lesbian. What's her name?
Decades ago, the man helped engineer Bill Clinton's victory and effectively created the blueprint for aggressive, in-your-face political spin. The issue is that Carville was broadcasting from the front porch of a political retirement home, and no one told him that he was no longer on the front lines. The rest of the world has changed or at least upgraded its internet, so even though he still says things like it's the economy, stupid, he was on screen with a touch of vintage arrogance, launching a stream of partisan insults that might have worked in the 1990s but now sound like AOL dial-up trying to load TikTok.
Carville looks like someone liberated him from a glass tank at Petco. Glad he's taking a break from hunting down Sigourney Weaver. But is he saying these people should be placed in pajamas, have their heads shaved, and march down Pennsylvania Avenue and spit on?
I'm not saying that these people should be placed in pajamas and have their heads shaved, march down Pennsylvania Avenue and spit on. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that did happen. And I'm saying that these people betrayed the French nation.
You could almost hear the mothballs clinking as he launched into another frantic tirade about how the radical right is destroying democracy, despite the fact that he couldn't define radical if it sprung up and Liv tweeted its resume, enter Gutfeld. Instead, Greg marinates the rhetoric, skewers it, wraps it in bacon, and then hands it back to the audience with a quip and a grin. From the start, Gutfeld saw Carville as the perfect opportunity to dismantle outdated political cliches still. Playing like AM radio static, Carville was playing to the cheap seats, and Gutfeld knew exactly what he was doing.
I feel like he's like a therapist to the Democrats. Democrats are like a patient. And he's just tired of their constant whining without actually doing the work that a therapist would tell you to do.
As Carville criticized the supposed radicalism sweeping the country, Gutfeld did what he does best. He refused to fall for the bait. This was red meat for cable news viewers who still think a saxophone solo on Arsenio Hall was the peak of political engagement. The real fireworks happened when Carville tried to pull rank, that good old "I've been in politics longer than you've been alive" routine. The more Carville flailed, the more Gutfeld smiled. While Carville moaned about the economy and Russian bots, Gutfeld calmly reminded everyone that we now live in a world where people argue that men can get pregnant.
Carville on the idea that there's like a Republican plant. What is wrong with that 10 or 15% of Democrats that everything that they say, this plant or whomever it is, it's a progressive, it's not a Republican. Let's mutilate kids. Let's put men in women's locker rooms, and let's make sure that we have these drag shows for kids. And they're like, yay! It's their fault. It's stupid. And he's right.
Dana, did I hear Jessica say that we should doge electric cars?
Rather than flinching, Gutfeld casually pointed out that longevity doesn't equal wisdom. It often just means you've grown out of touch. Especially when your go-to argument always ends with "and that's why we need more taxes." During Carville's high-octane rant against right-wing misinformation, Gutfeld sat back like a guy listening to a child try to explain quantum physics patiently, humorously, and completely unbothered. But audiences have evolved. They don't buy into the sky is falling routine anymore, especially when it's being yelled by the same guy who's been saying it since Blockbuster charged late fees. What worked in 1992 doesn't work in the TikTok era.
Theory is that Carville's right because, who's more likely, to get hit by lightning? Somebody who's sitting in their couch at home or somebody who goes out at night for a run. Anybody who actually takes action puts themselves at risk. And this is an administration that's always in action, always in play, a lot like you on the weekends.
Hard to see insight into, what Carville says. I don't know how he became the wise man of politics.
Nostradamus.
Carville targeted opponents he sees as trembling at words like racist or threats to democracy, using political slingshots filled with recycled horror stories. But Gutfeld responded with cold, comedic precision and ruthless clarity. Carville stared back with a pace-to-dawn pale look, but Gutfeld delivered each blow with the calm confidence of a man who knew the script before it was written. No shouting, no table thumping, just smirking and steady takedowns. Gutfeld moved past lazy playbook attacks and into the real absurdity of Carville's worldview, where anything right of Bernie Sanders is fascism and healthy skepticism gets you a spot on a terror watch list.
James Carville's wondering if there's a plant in the party, pushing them to back the dumbest ideas possible. Watch.
It's like there's a plant somewhere in quote progressive unquote America that just sees how many stupid things that they can embrace. There has to be a AI generated progressive generator of really.
That mindset says if you oppose the entire progressive agenda, you're a haircut away from insurrection. Gutfeld didn't just poke holes in that logic, he tore it open and exposed the rat inside for everyone to see. James Carville ended up looking like he was wondering whether any plants were even in the room. The mythology behind these old-school strategists has completely lost touch. They still act like they're the main character in a story no one's reading, delivering long-winded monologues after the audience has already left the theater. The doomsday climate warnings, the economic collapse narratives, the moral superiority there, all coming from the same person who predicted Armageddon 10 times already.
There's a certain coastal arrogance in this country, and people feel it. The Western far left is habitually the most stupid, naive people you can imagine. And they come up with these really goofy constructs, and it's all about feeling.
Gutfeld called it out. He reminded everyone, this isn't prophecy, it's pageantry. This is the most important election of our lives, is just recycled panic. Fear-mongering and moral grandstanding don't cut it anymore. Today's audiences want someone who can critique the clown show without joining it, someone who provides clarity instead of confusion. And that's exactly what Gutfeld did. These scare tactics dressed up as nostalgia don't impress people anymore. They want bite, not blather.
Washington Post ran a fluff bomb celebrating centrist Democrat women, going gaga over their resumes, mom energy, and group chat chemistry. But in this journalistic stroke job, not a single policy position was mentioned, which is weird. That's like doing a profile on me and not mentioning my many bodybuilding awards. Thank you. So why is that? Why'd they bend so far backward to avoid a basic stance? Maybe because in the current state of their party, it's better just to keep your head down and to stay safe. They substitute substance with nicknames, the Mod Squad or the Badass Caucus. But it's fake.
With one smirk, one punchline, and a well-timed takedown, he turned a relic of political spin into a footnote. Not with poison, not with rage, but with surgical sarcasm and pinpoint accuracy. And here's the kicker. He reminded everyone that the American audience doesn't want spin doctors. They want honest humor and someone who doesn't treat them like idiots. The game has changed. While mocking Carville, Gutfeld also exposed the whole crumbling system behind him: think tanks, pundits, legacy media all clapping like seals whenever Carville barks about saving democracy while ignoring the authoritarian nonsense on their own side.
Decorated president a month into his presidency than any president of the United States history. That's the fact. I can be fact-checked. Or they can do whatever they want.
That's fine. We can go with this. In 2025, he's at plus 4 points. Look where he was in 2017, his first term at this point. He was at minus 5 points, so he's doing nearly 10 points better on the average. And more than that, as I mentioned, it's not just the CBS News poll, it's the Ipsos poll, it's the Gallup poll, it's the Pew poll.
You're reading these polls, and I'm reading a poll saying the Democrats are 13 points up in the congressional generic, that Donald Trump has the lowest approval rating of any president at this point in his presidency in American history. So your viewers are getting one view, and I'm reading another view. So one of us is right and one of us is wrong.
He's in. Every single day, Donald Trump has been in positive territory compared to just 11 days during his first term.
It's not going to do any good for us to sit here and argue, because your viewers can believe you, and it can go to real clear politics, and they can act.
The halfway point, Gutfeld had decoded Carville's political Morse code and made everyone laugh doing it. Carville came off like a confused old man who stumbled into the wrong Zoom meeting. His once feared retorts now echoed like a worn-out cassette tape. Gutfeld, however, was as calm as ever, delivering truth bombs with modern flair, while Carville dusted off Reagan jokes and Cold War metaphors. The contrast couldn't have been starker.
Dems aren't losing the black and Hispanic vote. They're losing the black and Hispanic men, right? Why don't they break that down, that men are fleeing the Democratic Party like it's a showing of Barbie? It's because it's terrifying to them that they're becoming the party of awfuls, right? Affluent, white, female liberals. The Democratic Party has become like almost like a political version of the Bud Light commercial with Dylan Mulvaney. They've alienated men in order to please miserable activists. And men are like, hey, we know when we're not wanted. We'll see ourselves out. We know what a woman is, right? We know what's best for our kids. We know what it takes to protect our cities and our families. And we're tired of apologizing for laughing at funny jokes and at having natural testosterone, right? So they know that the Democratic Party has become a gender-specific party.
Gutfeld's truth-laced ridicule cut straight through Carville's reheated fury. He wasn't there for a nostalgic game of gotcha, he was there to deliver a scorched earth reminder that politics now belongs to those who can think quickly, laugh harder, and cut through media spin. This wasn't just a generational rift, it was a message. If you're still quoting the Cold War and citing Bill Clinton's playbook, you're not the solution, you're the rerun no one asked for. And in Gutfeld's world, relics aren't respected, they're retired.